We start today with a message from Nicholas on Instagram who says simply, "Keep crying, you big baby." Nicholas is happy that the White House has put me on a list. What a First Amendment defender. What a strong advocate of the Constitution, which respects and supports freedom of the press. And who am I kidding? These people are completely and totally pathetic. And what has been fascinating to see is in the wake of the White House putting me on this list, the number of people who are thrilled about it. If you support the First Amendment, if you support freedom of speech, shouldn't that also apply to people whose speech you disagree with? They love to say, sometimes when it is of no consequence whatsoever, I disagree with what you're saying, but I completely defend your right to say it. Well, I guess a lot of these people don't defend my right to say it. So this is the other side. On the one hand, there has been an outpouring of support from the audience since we got put on this Trump list. On the other hand, lawyers reaching out, offering their services, and so many different things. But on the other hand, there have been these MAGA people gleeful that the government is suppressing the speech of people in the media. I guess what I argue in my book is right, that it's a waste of time to argue about principles with people who abandon the principles once they are inconvenient. Kelton wrote on Spotify, "I'll never understand why politicians try to exclusively go on friendly media. In Canada, they do the same, and they're never really challenged. When they are, they get angry at the reporter, and it happens with all parties here. I want to see how politicians are when challenged and presented facts that could counter their position. I feel like this is part of the bigger problem of politics becoming tribalism, when the other side never sees each other or hears about them in an adversary way." Yeah, listen, this came up on the Monday show. This isn't like a both sides are the same kind of thing, but we've experienced this with Democratic elected officials, where as soon as I start asking follow-ups, they're going, yeah, but the thing is, the tone of the interview changes. And then their staffers write to us and go, we didn't really like that. Earlier this week, Donald Trump stormed out of an interview when Kristen Welker asked him follow-up questions, and then he pounded on the mic, stepped on the microphone, destroying it. It's the case in a lot of countries, but it's not every country. I do think it's important that we understand and acknowledge that in many countries, journalists who ask follow-ups and tough questions are respected rather than treated like crap by the people being asked the questions. But also the elected officials are more prepared for it. And so I can't say I know exactly how it is in Canada, but certainly there are places where serious journalism is actually respected and expected. All right, Scott Garrett with an interesting take on Trump's regular cognitive exams. Scott goes, let's be honest. If your child's date showed up at the door and said they've passed 5 field sobriety tests in the last week, yeah, I think that this is a great point, and we've been talking about it. Why is Trump being cognitively tested so much? Why are the results of his cognitive tests so newsworthy as far as he's concerned? Probably because there's some kind of a problem. It doesn't mean full-blown dementia, but some kind of a problem. And similarly, if someone goes, listen, I get field sobriety tests all the time. You don't have to worry about my driving. The natural question would be, why are you being field sobriety tested so often? It's a good analogy. I like it. Anders Jungner says on Spotify, very strong podcast that you run. Have followed you for a long time now. Understand that administration is putting you on their list as you break down all their arguments really effectively, which becomes dangerous for them. Keep up the good work. Greetings from Sweden. Love to hear from our Swedish friends and glad to have your support. Ghost Bunny with another great message. You know, in more boring times, independent journalists and news outlets may have felt like, but am I having an impact? The feedback mechanisms are not so clear in calmer waters. But now you have a very straightforward feedback that you're doing a great job. At least there's that. Yeah, I mean, listen, It's something we've been talking about with the other people that are on this Trump list. The fact that they even know who we are and have put us on a list and have a list proves that they believe we are having an impact. And it's, what more can you ask for? It's an incredible realization. And I think that Ghost Bunny's absolutely right. Marmart says, I would say let's all buy David Parkman's book to support him. I'm getting another copy today. Well, the book numbers have gone up. Pre-orders for my forthcoming book, Pay Attention, have skyrocketed since we ended up on this list. We suspect it's possible that there will be pressure from the administration on Amazon and Barnes & Noble not to sell the book. They put pressure on them for the first book. So I very much appreciate everybody who has pre-ordered the book, and you can read about the book at davidpakman.com/attention. Rolf Mueller wrote in about my road rage confrontation on the way to Montreal. And Rolf says, the only country in the world where the first thought is, will he pull out a gun? 100% right. In most countries around the world, if you have a dispute on the road and people get out of their cars and they are going to speak about the dispute, I at least wouldn't assume this person might have a firearm and they might pull it out and they might use it. But that was one of the first things on my mind when this guy confronted me at an electric vehicle charger last week, which was, to even generate this kind of confrontation, you already have to have somewhat of a predisposition to conflict and maybe to violence. And in addition to that, what if he does have a firearm? And what if he is getting ready to use it or wants to use it or whatever the case may be? Knox Warner also wrote in about the road rage confrontation and says that you were driving an electric vehicle probably had a lot to do with it. Yeah, you know, there are sort of two details I didn't include because they are speculative last week when I recounted being confronted by this massive SUV driven by this guy's wife. The guy in the passenger seat gets out to confront me for cutting off his wife and all of this stuff. I do wonder, you know, this sort of a lumberjack type guy in a massive gas guzzling SUV just sucking down gas. Is it possible that this guy is just furious about electric vehicles to some degree? And electric vehicles are very fast, which is why, you know, I just was able to jump out without any risk of a crash in front of his wife. Is it possible that he's angry that the guy he voted for, Trump, has boosted gas prices and he's got this disastrous gas guzzler and I've got this clean electric vehicle? Could he have been angry about that? Is he just angry about the existence of electric vehicles? The other thing some people wrote in, and I thought it was an interesting analysis, was a lot of people wrote in saying, David, the key thing was you cut off his wife. He felt emasculated. This EV driving liberal pansy, left-handed Jewish Argentinian, whatever. You're going to let him cut off your wife like that? And that there was a sort of masculinity aspect to the confrontation. I didn't mention that. It's of course very speculative, but it did cross my mind. Let me put it that way. Remember, you can write to me on any platform, but you can always email me, info@davidpakman.com. Comments, concerns, suggestions. We accept all. We even accept trolling. We delete it, but we accept it. We've got a phenomenal bonus show for you today. You can sign up and get instant access at joinpakman.com. If you missed Tuesday's membership special, we did a one-day membership special to prepare for what may be a legal battle against the White House after they put me on an offenders list. If you missed the membership special on Tuesday and you'd like to avail yourself of it, just write to info@davidpakman.com. We'll get you the coupon code. You can sign up. It'll be clean and simple. See you on the bonus show. Be back here on Monday. Thanks for watching. Check out this other video. And if you like our content, make sure to subscribe so YouTube puts our videos in your feed, and subscribe to the podcast on Spotify and Apple.